Hey guys, my guest tonight, Farah Rose Perry, and I will be talking about battling dark forces. We'll be right back. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? My name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong up and down the state, which means if you have a paranormal need, we can get to you. The issue is it might take us a bit of time because California is a huge state. People don't realize just quite how big we are. But in the case that it does, in the event that it does take us a couple days to get to you, we do have mediums on staff who can phone you and talk to you about what may or may not be going on in your home or business. And in most cases, if it is paranormal, they can calm the energy down until we can get out there and do our thing. All right. That being said, if you're watching from Facebook tonight, and a lot of you are, please feel free to hit that follow button if you haven't done so already. We're always looking for followers. And during the show, if you like it, if you see and like what you hear and all that good stuff, give us a thumbs up. Those heart thingies. There's one right there. Thank you, whoever that was. And happy faces. And also feel free to chat amongst yourselves, the chat room. If I'm able to get to those chats, I will have us answer questions between myself and the guest. We're always looking for that stuff, and what that does is that puts us higher in the computer system at Facebook. We call it the FYP, and it puts us out and distributes us to more people to watch. Okay, it's the same thing with YouTube. We have 900 videos sitting over there, more than 900 videos sitting there. All of this show. I'm a journalist, photojournalist. And I like to pick different topics. So if you go over to YouTube, you'll see all kinds of topics. I've even taken like about half of them and put them in files now, so you can find everything easier. Okay. So if you're into medium if you're into medium Nancy Matz, you can find a file for her. If you're into this type of thing, demonology and things like that, there's a file for that as well. Cryptids, absolutely. And it's the same thing. If you haven't subscribed, please feel free to subscribe over there because, like I said, we do different topics, different shows. Tomorrow, we're going to be covering Bigfoot. We're going to be covering close encounters with Bigfoot. So it varies from night to night with us, and we are on the air Sunday through Friday. So, it's a pretty fun ride over here. Again, please be sure to leave us happy faces, thumbs up, and things like that over on YouTube as well. And comments, because, again, that helps us with the FYP over there. And that works the same for everywhere. It works the same for Twitch. It works the same for even Twitter even, I would think. Yeah, it works the same for TikTok. All right? It puts us out farther. Okay, just a quick reminder. Next Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, we are going to be doing Coffee with the Ghosthunter, and that's when you can come meet with me. Of course, it's an online virtual coffee room. And you can meet with me and pick my brains for information. I've been doing this for 18 years, so I know I'm not saying I know everything, because nobody ever knows everything, but I know quite a bit about paranormal and all that. And if you have questions, even about me personally, I'm more than willing to answer them. So it's a good way to do it. And this way you don't have to get dressed up to go out to, say, Starbucks or someplace, and we don't have to be in a noisy coffee house. We can just enjoy each other's company. Check us out at the California Haunts meetup page. It's California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team meetup page. And I believe the link is down below the description of this show. Okay. Swinging in. You can see that ticker running below. We are doing starting our first investigation in a couple of years, post-COVID, on Sunday, and I did a quick equipment check, and it turned out some of our equipment needs some upgrading and needs some work on them, and so I'm trying to get some funds, because we are a nonprofit, to do that. And if you could help me out with that, I'd appreciate it. You're not required to, but it'd be nice to get a little bit of help with that. So, okay. Now, if you want to find us, look us up. Facebook, we're all over World Wide Web, just Google in there California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team. We're going to pop up everywhere. My guest tonight, she's been on before, great guest. I'm really excited to have her on again. Farah Rose Perry is with us tonight to talk about her work as a demonologist. And lately, and we've had these other guests on as well. We've been talking about how it seems like this darkness is going up, because I remember years ago when I first started out doing this, again, 18 years, right? It was few and far between to run into these cases. But I know towards the end of, towards COVID, these cases started picking up, because for a while there, that's all we were doing. I mean, almost every other case we had, we were running into some type of dark being. And even now, from what I'm hearing out there from other investigators, and other demonologists, that's picking up momentum. So it'd be kind of nice to ask Farah why, what she thinks is going on. Anyway, without me talking my little head off, let me bring Farah in. She can catch you up on what she's been up to, and we're going to talk dark forces. Welcome back.
Thanks so much for having me. That was really, really nice of you to invite me. And whoever was asking to say hi to me, I love it. Thank you so much. I'm honored. Thanks for having me back, Charlotte.
I am so excited to have you on. What's been going on with you?
Oh my gosh. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff, guys. I kind of was trying to balance some health issues the last year and a half. I got in an accident and broke my back about 2 years ago. Finally had surgery. Thank God for Fix-A-Flat. Inject the plastic in, I get to walk again. So it's like I'm recovering from that stuff. And not like I wasn't walking before. I was just going, I'm old, it hurts. I'm whiny, complaining butt here. Still doing my thing. As a matter of fact, The Exorcist called me. They just pulled me from the wreckage, and I'm laying in the emergency room, and I'm like screaming my head off. My husband's trying to hold me on the table so I don't attack anybody. And The Exorcist all of a sudden calls, one of them, and because I talk to, consult with, and I work with a number of exorcists, and this is my head exorcist here. And he's like, "Hi, Farah," and I'm like, "Hello, Father." He's like, I got some information for you. I says, "Father, I was just in a car accident." I don't know how I was thinking straight. He's like, "Well, you're still going to help us, aren't you?" I said, "Yes, just give me a few hours to get me to a room." It was so funny. Oh my, and I'm screaming my head off in pain. But okay, that was, what was that? Was 2 years ago, right after I just got married.
Well, now you've inspired me, because now next time I go to my pain management guy, I'm going to be like, I need some of that Fix-A-Flat for my back.
Precisely.
See what they say. Yeah.
It's so cool. It's like, we're not talking about the big old horse needle that they jam in your arm when you've got like that issue with your little joint in there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I can brush my hair again, I can wipe again." No, this is the beyond stuff. They lay you out, knock you out, and they just go right, supercharged.
Awesome. And you just got married, you said?
Yes, I just recently got married to Matthew Perry, and well, not recently. We've been old people together now for 2 years, and yeah, that's been rather exciting. So it's another chapter of the journey, and the interesting thing is that where we moved out here in Houston, in Missouri, because we both love the country, we both love to kill things, eat things, and run around like wild people in the woods. And my bishop's okay with that. But cool. we just found that this was the best place to get eaten alive by ticks and fleas that you could choose between California and Virginia.
There you go.
It's just chickens and farm life. But I think the biggest thing, Charlotte, we're looking at here, 2 years has kind of been a pause for me. I haven't done a lot of YouTube channels, YouTube shows, and I know how hard you work. Personally, I do, because doing all that after Ken died, it was like all on me. And fortunately, I had Jacob to help, but still, I mean, writing all this content, trying to help and figure out what niche do I need to enter tonight? What do I need to address? There's so much to it. And actually, I did a formation thing on YouTube to try and help people, get their mind straight with their faith and spirituality. Now, so many people want me to look at the offerings, and I do say offerings of what is being put out there by television, by, the cable channels, by movies, and they're saying, is this real? Is this really going on? What do you think of this? So I love doing my, shall we say, movie reviews. Can demons really do that? That's what it's called. So I'm hoping to get one out here soon. I've been telling people that since last fall, but unfortunately, when you've broken your back, you've got an injury, you really don't want to sit still that long in a rock hard chair with all these lights on, and then you're trying to sit there and look at your notes, crib sheets, and you're sitting there pushing buttons. So it's been a lot, especially now that I'm healing, I can go forward. And there's so much going on out there. And your viewers are right. Things are getting a lot worse. A lot worse.
Yeah.
And you were talking about how you've, been in ghost hunting and stuff like that. And it was like, I don't think I want to say how long I've been, but I'll tell you, I'm 61 and I've been doing this since before my son was born, and he's 33. So when I look at that time when we were using talc powder and some little Christmas bells and the old-fashioned, let's basically get the temperature readings, and I look at today's high-tech gadgetry, it's like I read a book, Haunted Investigation, Charlotte. I think we talked about it last time, but I took it off just private print because I want to do forms for everybody, because I'm an organizational fiend. Everything to me is organization. You're doing this, you're packing this, you're doing this, you're showing up, you're being a professional. You are professional. And a lot of people don't understand how effective that is in calming the people that you're helping. Well, today we have so much, shall we say, natural biotoxins in our environment that are affecting people's health, their mind, their judgment. So, Charlotte, we talked, 20, 30 years ago, when you had people calling thinking, oh my gosh, my house is haunted. It's like, all right, well, let's look at a topo map. Are you on a hill? Do you have winds? Do you have this affecting you? Are you in a quake zone? Oh my gosh, I lived in California, San Diego, Seattle. There was constant quakes. But now we have people really, really running scared, not knowing what's going on. And I think that from my investigative standpoint, because I do a whole intake for exorcists, etc., we have to look at so many other factors now, Charlotte, that I wouldn't even consider 20, 30 years ago, because the majority of people did not have, shall we say, the same challenges. We don't have real food anymore. We don't really have, we've got so many chemtrails that we're breathing. And, like you were saying, you're finally getting to do an investigation after COVID. There's so many viruses and everything else in the air that are released. People have lost their sense of smell. They've lost their sense of right reason. They can't tell balance. They're hallucinating things because of gut imbalances. And I was just talking about this the other night with somebody, that my intake form now has to have, how do you eat? How do you sleep? You know exactly what I'm talking about because you're a professional. So in that sense, we have a totally different person from back in the 80s and 90s that we would talk to and say, what's going on with you? To now, it's like, we don't just say what's going on. We say, how are you taking care of yourself? What is your daily routine? How are you sleeping? How are you eating? And it's really hard because sometimes people take that personally. They're like, well, I'm this and I'm that and I'm this and that. We have to understand, I look at things holistically. We are a whole entity. We are the sum total of not just our experiences and what has happened to us, which a lot of things I'm finding too are trauma related. We just had a case where this lady, can I get a little graphic, but not too graphic?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I don't want to shock your listeners. So, gentle listeners, if there's children in the room, please have them go in the other room, because I'm not going to say anything really graphic, but I don't want anybody going, "Ooh, I think I'm going to jump up and try this." I was one of those kids. we had this case, and this lady was probably about my age. She was like 58, 60 years old, and she was having these experiences in her house when her husband was gone, where she would sit on a piece of furniture, and all of a sudden it would vibrate. You know, I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you're old enough to remember. You'd stay in these hotels, motels, and you put a quarter in the bed would vibrate. It'd be like, come on, let's jump on this. I remember my brother and I just getting so giddy. Oh, mom and dad, get the vibrating bed. We didn't care about the pool. We wanted the vibrating bed. That's so wrong. But and I'm not laughing at this lady. I'm laughing at the fact that, you know, I enjoyed that kind of sick fun. As a kid, I probably still do if they had them, but I don't know if I'd touch you with a 10-foot pole. But this lady, you know, in all earnestness, she was so scared, she was so worried, she was so freaked out. She thought that her furniture was either possessed or there was some kind of incubus, succubus kind of thing. She didn't know if it was male or female. She was like, there's something going on. You know, it's vibrating my genitalia.
Oh my
I'm like,
God.
okay, all right, you know, 3 intakes later, we find I'm sorry, sweet. I'm not laughing at her, you guys. Please know that I never laugh at my clients. I take every single one sincerely
Absolutely.
as face value. But the whole incident is that, you know, you can go to an antique store and buy something that's haunted, and, you know, if you don't bless it or yourself, you could have a problem, but you don't know. This is
Right.
furniture that her and her husband, Charlotte, had bought many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so this had been there for a while. So why all of a sudden would it start vibrating? And why would she be feeling it right there? And so then, when you're investigating people and you have to ask them hard questions, well, you know, have you used the torpedo torture for so many years that, you know, you're having aftershocks? And I mean, that's as nicely as I can say it. You know, you don't want to be rude and say, you know, is there a reason that this is going on? So, like I said, 3 intakes later, we find out that this woman was brutally raped with an artificial object and literally jammed in there repeatedly.
Wow.
And I mean, this is so freaking horrific. I can't even tell you all the details. But the point is that she didn't have those memories until she got older. She never dealt with this trauma, never dealt with this hurt. So her mind and her body all of a sudden came together. Like, it's time to deal with the healing. It's time to let this go. So subconsciously, her mind and body were saying, it's time to remember everything. It's time to let go and forgive everything. But here she was worried, you know, I'm a good girl. I haven't practiced, you know, any kind of Satanism or any kind of witchcraft. I'm not conjuring anything. And her husband was just like, you know, I can't deal with this. I don't know what's going on with her. You know, she won't let me touch her, won't let me near her. And I said, well, you know, maybe you guys got to like go together and hang out and talk. And, but this is the kind of thing that I'm seeing more and more, Charlotte. People that are damaged as children are having very horrific, haunting, supernatural, shall we say, uninvited dreams, touching experiences. And what I try and tell people is that, hi, Lori. Hi, Pamela. Hi, Marissa. Hi, everybody in the chat room. Thank you for joining us. I like to say hi to everybody. I tried to invite as many people as I could. We have to understand that where some of us are a little bit more sensitive to what's around us, some of us have completely blocked it out. And with a sledgehammer, all of a sudden, because of that trauma wound, it just slam itself right in. So I you know, don't know any other nice way to say it. It just, there's a lot of hurting people, Charlotte, a lot of hurting people. And I think that the more that we say, oh, this is demonic, or this is evil, or this is that, we don't get to the underlying root cause of why they're tortured in the first place. And that's my biggest thing, is trying to get to people and say, okay, what's going on? But yeah, that's a little bit of a help, I think, letting people know that it's holistic. It's all of us and all of our experiences. The evil that we see nowadays is embraced. We see so much evil embraced. I was just talking about this with my husband the other night. There is so much spirit cooking, pedophilia in our media, in what we see in magazines and what we see in movies. I mean, all these symbols for, you know, man-boy love, for, you know, the rape of, you know, 6-month-old children and less.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I even learned a new one myself, panda eyes. I'm not even going to say what that is, you guys, but it's
Right.
really vile what they do to children.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got two cases right now involving, um, I don't call it demonic possession, but I call it direct oppression of an evil spirit, in the sense that it's a generational curse. In a sense, it has been passed from father to child, grandfather to father, and it wasn't stopped. This
Mm-hmm.
sort of sexual perversion and sexual molestation, that people will adopt a child, or what I see is a lot of grandparents taking over their grandchildren,
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte, and then they have stuff happening in their house. They have either things flying across the house. They have strange disembodied touches. They have things happening that are not explained, and then these children are hypersexual with
Mm-hmm.
other adults, and they're like, well, what's going on? Why does little Johnny need this much attention? And little Johnny didn't know what was happening to him when these boundaries were crossed.
Mm-hmm.
Little Annie didn't have any way to tell people that, somebody put his hand down her pants, and, she didn't like it and she felt gross because she
Mm-hmm.
was too young to even understand what was happening. And so
Mm-hmm.
these adults are like thinking, and 10 years ago, the whole thing was, I don't know if you remember, people were smoking bath salts, and
Right.
oh, good Lord. And so I was having all these people call me and say, oh my gosh, my relative's possessed. What happened? What's going on? Well, they're talking in languages, and, they're having these possessed motions and everything else. And we get to the point, okay, well, has a person used drugs? Yeah, but not that much. It just takes one time for somebody, whether it's morphine or cocaine or bath salts. Your brain is so tightly wired for health.
Mm-hmm.
You do one thing to disrupt that. It's crazy, Charlotte. It's just so crazy. And, we do get the rare instance. People always think, well, if you play with a Ouija board, you're going to get, possessed. Or if you do
Mm-hmm.
this, you do that. That's not true. I mean, for the rare person, it might be true that boom, you get that automatic step in demon and you won the demon lottery.
Mm-hmm.
More likely, it's an invitation to the lower level demonics that get to
Mm-hmm.
mess with you. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're not strong in who you are, what you know, and where you're going after this life, they're going to have fun playing more than Monopoly and Parcheesi with you. So, oh boy, Charlotte, there's so much going on right now.
The other thing too, as far as what we do is as investigators, and you know, God bless the newer teams coming up. The people
Hmm.
that are really eager to get into this, but it's a huge responsibility. And I remember when we made the change from doing commercial investigations to residential investigations.
Oh, yeah.
It was a really big choice for me to get us involved with that because there's so much responsibility there and what you're encountering. I mean, like you say, our questionnaire is almost 150 questions. When we go out to talk to people, I have
Hmm.
former police officers on staff. I have psychologists on staff.
Yep.
To talk with people.
That's because you're professional, Charlotte. Not many people do.
Yeah,
Not
and
many
I'm just.
people do.
It's such, and I think a lot of these newer teams don't realize the responsibility that goes with doing this because you're dealing with somebody's life when you're out there.
Well, it's not just somebody's life. Okay, you're talking about their emotional
Right.
and their physical sense of well-being. And that's your level of professionalism that a lot of people don't have. And that's why I wrote that book, is because when you step into somebody's home,
Mm-hmm.
you are literally acting as the authority to try and help them.
Yes.
Just like a police officer would try to maintain the peace, or like the therapist, the
Mm-hmm.
psychologist would try to help find a level balance. Or just like, because I have some nurses I consult with too. Like a nurse
Sure.
would say, okay, yes, that, this, and this. And then, or a holistic practitioner, that is definitely a vitamin B deficiency in the lower gut and the lower colon,
Right.
because this kind of mood swing and attitude, this is not bipolar. This is probably misdiagnosed in this medication. I mean, we've got cases with people with 5 or 6 different medications. And then on top of that, they're taking sleeping pills or maybe drinking alcohol. So, I mean, you've got a cocktail of stuff that right there, they're probably having nightmares,
Right.
and they're probably waking up at night, maybe to go urinate, and they might be seeing things
Mm-hmm.
between the medications, if they're not overdosing, but they're double dosing like within an hour or two, they might be seeing shadows.
Yep.
That would freak anybody out. But if we don't, like you and I, we can't know every medication in the book. I know a lot of them because I've been doing it this long, but we can't know everyone. And just like I was telling you about, a topo map, I can go to somebody's house and they're saying, well, this barn door always opens at this time, just like once a month, it's like something's coming through. Well, and then we find out that, we look at the Farmer's Almanac and we see that, there's a certain wind pattern and a certain pattern that, happens to happen. I don't know all this stuff. I've got to consult with other people. So I think what, I've seen as far as paranormal and investigators and ghost investigators, I think that people tend to rely too much on what they feel as opposed to what Occam's razor. They want the hard evidence. This is what you have to look at. This minus this equals this. Not necessarily, but if there's this supporting stuff, it's definitely that, or it leans toward that. So you look toward solving it from that angle. And a lot of times, I also find too, Charlotte, I'm sure you do too, is that we as humans, and I'm the first to admit, I'm really, really lazy. If I can get out of doing something because I got this or that, let's make that excuse. We want to blame something else. We want to say, well, I just couldn't do it. I just can't do it. I can't tell you the number of cases I've had just in the last 6 months where people sincerely sought out the church for assistance, or somebody like me, a professed Franciscan sister, because of my faith. And I try and benefit them with my faith and the prayers that I know that will stop some of the attacks they've got. I've tried everything. I've tried anything. That won't work. That won't work. There's some people that are just like, they're like a horse with blinders. It's like nothing you say is getting through. So, when you have people that aren't in right reason, they can't reason with you. Like, shall we say 90% of the people in the world right now don't want to be reasonable. They're happier, Charlotte, in their own misery. And that I wish to God I could do something about, but I can't. I really, really can't. So when you look at, is it evil or is it laziness? I don't want to call people lazy. However, you know what? If the Fruit Loop is pink, we can't say it's blue. It just is what it is. That's not a judgment. It's just an observation. So, it's really hard because you want to help people. And coming from that viewpoint, like I said, people come from their senses. Well, I sense this and I sense this. What is the right thing that is going to affect the situation in a positive manner that is going to be healthy for everyone involved? And every case is going to be different. You know that.
Oh, absolutely. I know we did one out in a rural area where the family was bound and determined that something demonic was in the house. Objects flying around the house, things going on like that. And
wow.
I'm walking through the house, and they've got they collected blessed icons. So they were all on the walls, and so I'm walking through the house, and I'm thinking, none of this is falling down off the walls.
Yeah,
and
right.
I was out there, and I told them, and I said, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think what you have going on is demonic. All those icons you have on the walls, those wouldn't be there.
No,
if this
they
thing
would
was
not.
Demonic. As it turned out, and that was one like with yours, this one took 3 months to figure out. As it turned out, the father in this case had another tumor growing in his brain.
Oh my gosh.
And everything was chaotic around him.
That's so sad.
Which is where all this was coming from. And he was very irate, very adamant about what was going on, what he felt was going on. But that's what it turned out to be. But like you say, trying to convince them that it wasn't demonic was a job. Even though everything was on the walls. And I said, that's not going to be there.
No. And, sometimes I find too, and myself included, the older I get, sometimes the more set I am in things that I believe that I know. And I see that a lot in cases. I had a case that was out in the country too, where there wasn't that sort of illness. However, there was it's not so much a schizophrenic break. It is schizotypical, where there will be moments of rationality. There's a lot of reason. There isn't a lot of, the typical, what is it, the fears of isolation and the fears of people coming to get me. But there is that schizo split of the mind, where all of a sudden, for no reason whatever, they believe what they saw. And this was a mother and son living by themselves, and they insisted that they were being haunted by evil entities walking through the mist in the morning. They didn't see him all the time, but the son, and about pareidolia. It's very,
Right.
very easy to believe that we're seeing a figure or a face in things that look familiar to us. I mean, as humans,
Sure.
that's what little babies look for. We look for those signs of facial recognition, because that's how we're going to eat. We're going to get our diapers changed. We need that. When people are not in a state of right reason, and when they are in a, what I call a cortisol, adrenal gland loaded fight or flight state of freaked, they're going to have this same survival mode of needing to see that face, needing to see that body for confirmation, for help. And like you said, explaining this to people is really difficult. So this took a couple of visits, and I actually took my counselor, and I took a what was it? Not an RN, LPN with me out there, because I said, I looked at all the medications. There's nothing that says they're on antipsychotics. Come to find out that the mother at one point was taking, I can't remember the name of the antipsychotic, but she had taken that for a number of years for her depression, anxiety, and her wild imagination. What that was, I don't know, didn't ask, but I brought in a couple of professionals. They walked around. We walked the property. Didn't see anything. The places that they walked us out to, it was really, really interesting, Charlotte, because this is the beauty of living out in the country, and you have mists. And even my husband said tonight when he came home, there was like this heavy, it wasn't a fog or anything because it was warm, but it was just kind of like a haze, a really, really thick kind of a white haze. Well, where they were seeing these demonic people coming from was, how when you've got like an eddy in the glen, you've got this little dip, and and fog will gather there, or mist will gather there. Where they were seeing these people was right at some trees that were right by this low area, and there was bushes there. So they were seeing these white figures come through. And what I think it was, because I've seen this a number of times before out in Colorado, Montana, and Michigan too, is when you have low-lying mist, or you have low-lying, the humidity changes. So you've got moisture, it'll look like fingers, or it'll look like tall white things coming down the hill. It really will. And it startles you, and you're like, what am I looking at? Because you don't know. I think that's what she was seeing. We could not figure anything else out. We advised her son that she needed to get back on her medication. And she was a very, very spiritual, holy person. She had, it was, and I've only seen this like in one other house that I had a case in, where the lady was hearing squirrels, and the husband was like, oh yeah, you're hearing squirrels, honey. I'll go check. And he pretended to catch squirrels just so he could get some peace at night. She swore the house was haunted, the house was demonized, yada. It wasn't. But in this case, it was another, sad entreaty that this woman was so sweet and so loving. She had these St. Benedict medals on every single window ledge, on the inside and on the outside. She was so worried that they were going to come and kill her son in the middle of the night, and not wait till the morning when she could see him coming. Because she said they would come right to that edge of that hill, right to her property, and then all of a sudden they would just disappear. So she didn't know if they were invisible and they were coming at her, or what, Charlotte. It was just, it's so heartbreaking, because I think this woman was almost 80. She was 77, 78, and she was so well-spoken. You could tell she was, she loved the English language. She was very educated. She was a holy woman. However, when we don't listen to other people tell us that Your mind is not exactly tracking the way it once was, and we don't
Right.
believe people, and we get set in our ways thinking, we know what's going on, we know what's happening, don't tell me. Sadly, a lot of people come to the rescue, but there's nothing to rescue.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, that's the hardest thing, with working with demonic cases. Ugh.
And with older people too, that we found as well, medication, because some of that medication that they take for their, for their thinking problems can
Yeah.
cause hallucinations, and you have to sort through all that.
Well, and the biggest one is like memory, accurate memory timeline.
Yep.
That's just so difficult. So when I get those callers that are blah 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 blah, blah and you can't get a word in edgeways, let's start with today and last night. Let's just stick with what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
What is the biggest thing you got going on right now?
Mm-hmm.
I think sadly, the demonic cases that I have had lately that are serious oppression, the worst thing is that the people are not willing to do anything to get rid of it. No fiance, no family relationship is worth having to go through. I even had this one lady who had a grandchild that was so badly sexually molested. He was just starting to act out and starting to kill animals.
Mm-hmm.
She pulled out of the program, out of the system, because her husband needs to sleep. And her husband so can't handle going through the steps it would take, to begin the process. She says she just can't do it right now. And I can see from what I've seen with some of the children that are so badly molested that grow up and they become step-in possessions for whatever these things are that oppress them, the lower, mid to higher level demons, they're going to come in with a knife sometime at grandma and grandpa. It won't end with just the family pets and the fish and everything else. And people think, well, if that's the case, what about all these serial murders? Because I get this asked a lot. What about all these serial murders? I mean, can't they get an exorcism and be fine? No. That's the, we see a lot of, because I study a lot of criminal cases myself too, just because the psychology, the psychopathy, the dark triad. I'm always interested in how the physiology and how the psychopathy, how it blends to make a perfect storm for this person to continue to choose what they know is evil.
Mm-hmm.
And because we've all got a choice, Charlotte. That's what I tell everybody. And no matter where you're at, you have a choice to say no at all times. And a lot of people that are oppressed, they're in the beginning stages of a major oppression, they think they don't have a choice. Do you get that all the time too, where people think,
I do.
oh yeah, they can read my mind. They know exactly what I'm thinking. There's no place I can hide.
Yeah.
It's like, please hear me. No. Yeah.
The thing that, and I'm not going to say gets me, but the thing that bothers me the most too is when you get that call and they want you to come out and do a cleansing on a house.
Right away.
Right away.
Not next week. Right now.
No investigation right now.
No,
and
exactly.
I have to sit there and go, we don't even know what we're dealing with yet.
Mm-hmm.
If we come out and do the wrong kind of cleansing, it could really, really make it worse. But you get these people that are just dead set and they just want that cleansing. Don't bother coming out, going through all that. I want a cleansing right now.
They want their quarter in the slot and they want 2 gumballs, not 1. So, I tell people, I say, well, if you had a brain tumor and I told you that I was a manicurist, would you want me to slice your brain open and root around, see if I can find a tumor? Because I'm a professional manicurist. I can give you the best manicure you've ever seen in your life, but I don't know anything about brain tumors. They don't get it. This is and I think you know what this is. I call it the reason fog. They're out there in the fog somewhere. They want to be reasonable, but because they believe they know what's right for them, we need to give it to them right away, as soon as we can. And that gets me too, in a sense that, like I was telling you, I just had a call last week about this woman who just tried everything. And the case had gone back 20 years for her, but she couldn't tell me what happened 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
If, I think that our media, and you do have to admit there's some funky shows out there, really scripted well, that
Absolutely.
people watch, and they want you to do the same thing. Well, can't you do this? And can't, I mean, they want to tell me how to do my job better than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I got people I got to answer to. I can't go in there playing Don Johnson, with a ghost box.
I was going to ask you about that, what you thought of these TV shows, because there's only a couple that I watch.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't watch them all because they irritate me.
Yeah, exactly. They're irritating. Well, I don't watch too many of them because I don't want to criticize any one person,
Right.
because being in the media, being on quite a few of these shows, both for, ghost hunting and other reasons, I understand the whole process of what it's like to produce a show, to find people that are going to be credible, and to set up the protagonist, antagonist, what is it? The tension that keeps viewers and makes money. I understand that. However, feeding this to the public as genuine is so misleading. And we have, like I was saying, we have so many Don Johnson, the ghost bow.
That's pretty funny.
Oh my god, that was a good comment.
That was a good one. That was pretty funny.
I know. I'm hearing the Miami Vice in the background now. But so I don't want to slam any shows or anything. There probably are a few good ones. Are the thing of it is when you watch them, anytime you turn on the TV, it's entertainment.
Right.
You go to cable, it's entertainment. It's not all true.
No.
I mean, the reason they're producing this is to make money. And anything that you have that is going to make money is going to use artistic license to get you interested, to get your heart racing, and to get you to come back and consume more of what they just sold you. So, when I say, are there some good ghost shows out there? There probably are. I love a good ghost story just like the rest, because I think ghost stories are probably the most fun because A, they're not threatening. They're not, people say, oh, that's a bad ghost story. And that's, this ghost came back and hurt you. No, that was a cursed demon coming at you. That was not a ghost. Ghosts will not harm you. They will not interact with you unless God allows them to. They're not going to do anything except just continue like a broken record to do what they do. For whatever reason, that apparition is just doing what it's doing. It's a vapor. It's nothing more than it's there. It's gone. You can pray for it. But other than that, so I think that sadly, when you're looking at the popularity of all these exorcism shows, that it crosses the line into a lot of cultural, shall we say, beliefs and practices. And I don't want to, shall we say, attack anybody's practices or faiths or beliefs, because like Jesus says, you know what? If they're kicking them out, we're not stopping them. They're on the same team as us. However, there's a lot of people that in these entertainment shows, and I'm sure you've seen it. This is why I just don't watch them. I watched one where I saw people run screaming down a hotel corridor. And I'm like, seriously? This is what you're calling entertainment? Because somebody got their nuts in a squatch and they're whizzing themselves because they're just so scared. It's all a setup. And even the ones that I'm in, I'm told, this is how I ought to appear. This is how I ought to sound. This is, and I'm like, no, I don't think so. Either I'm going to tell you what happened or I'm not playing. I don't play those games because they must make money, Charlotte. And I know that there's a lot of interesting movies out there. Like one of the old ones that was written by Peter Straub, Ghost Story. I don't know if you remember that one or not, if your listeners remember, but it was a wonderful tale about guys that murder this accidentally. They don't really do it on purpose, but they're dancing with her, they're drinking, and they get handsy. She falls down and dies, and then they hide her body. And supposedly her ghost comes back, and years later, is going to come and kill all of them. That's not a ghost. That is a legion of demons, and that is a curse. And that is brought to destroy people. And that stuff does happen. But all the other, bells and whistles and all the fun stuff, nah, that doesn't always happen. And people want to think it does because it's like it's exciting and it's fun. It's good campfire fodder. But if I can tell your audience anything, when you're watching these ghost stories or these ghost adventures or haunting adventures, do not believe them. Have fun watching them. Don't go buy a ton of cameras and look at them hoping to see something. Don't go, get your latest app on your phone and Spirit Box app so you can listen to what's in the bathroom because it's different than what's in the back porch. Don't do that. That's invitational. When curiosity is the number one invitation for oppression going to possession, your curiosity. I tell people this all the time, Charlotte. Either you have a calling or you're just curious. And the only way to find out is stick your nose in and find out how meddled with you are, your finances, your sleep, and everything else. I don't recommend it. I really don't. And those shows are just the worst.
The only ones I watch is I will watch Paranormal 911.
Yeah.
I will watch Haunted Hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
Anything having to do with law enforcement, fire department, doctors and nurses, I'm good with. Anything beyond that, I won't watch them.
I love I love shows about the medical professions because in a sense they can't lie to me because I know a little bit about it. It's like I know when they're fudging the lines really well. Sadly though, movies, a lot of people take these movies as just God's honest truth serious, and it's really not. It's really not. I think that we're led to believe that just because a title says this was real, this happened, maybe 10% of it did. Like somebody in your audience just commented, they were on a show and it was all scripted. And when we have so many people promoting, I hate to say it because I'm really not a big fan, these preternatural or cursed objects, for people to view. It's like, if this is such a horrible thing, why would it's like, it's like if I had COVID and it was like I had it in my hand. Here, you want to share? Why would you want to expose other people to demonized objects? Wouldn't you worry about their mental, their physical? Wouldn't you worry about their well-being? And then, you have some people just touting around saying, oh, this is exercise and there's nothing. How do you know? Because I've been in contact with some of these things. They don't have just one or two demons. They have legions. They have hundreds of demons attached to these things because the demons like it. And they know, just like when they draw you at a site, say, oh yeah, I'm curious about this place. That curiosity is what's going to bring in more and more and more if you give into it. So I think, we're on the same page with these shows. But these objects that people collect and they believe are evil, they need to be disposed of properly.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That just worries me, and it worries me about teams too. There's a couple teams here in Missouri, and there's this one I know that says, "Oh yeah, give it to me. I'll take it. I'll keep it safe." How? Who the hell are you that you can keep it safe?
Yeah.
What train have you had that you can keep it safe? I just don't believe it. It's too dangerous.
Well, along that subject, when you come across an object that's causing issues in somebody's home, what do you do with it?
Number one, as part of the investigation, the problematic object, I want to find out what the provenance is. What part of the family? Who was it gifted to? Because in the line of authority, we may not realize that there's a line of authority, but there is a line of authority. And that line of authority is established with whoever has legal ownership. What is legal ownership? Legal ownership is, I give you this mirror. This mirror is yours. You love it. I want you to have it. Or, maybe you just picked it up, like, in some antique store or whatever, and didn't even realize it. That's not necessarily ownership so much as that's invitational ownership. You took possession of it. So when we come across that, we want to find out what the history is. And then we want to break that tie. We want to figure out how to heal it, how to break it. And then we want to dispose of it properly, depending on what it is. Because in a lot of senses, the worse an item is, you don't want to just burn it and release whatever it is
Right.
to whoever it wants to go have fun with. You want to make sure that you bind everything away that's attached to it first, and then you want to destroy it in a manner that is safe and not going to invite anybody else to play with it again.
Mm-hmm.
So it just really depends on the object, Charlotte, that I come across.
Now, have you gotten calls from people who have haunted objects and they want to get rid of them, and maybe they would? What do? Do you have them send it to you, or do you give them instructions on what to do?
I give them specific instructions. Specific instructions. I don't want anybody sending me anything haunted or
Okay.
cursed or evil. Nope, nope, nope. I am not one of those collectors of, oh, I'll take your grandmother's brooch and we'll figure out how to mash it and exercise it and put it on holy ground. No, I give them directions. Because what a lot of people don't understand is that you, as the person being haunted, oppressed, or bothered, you have the greatest authority to say, I bind this away from me. You've been given the power. Get rid of it. So if it's something that's affecting you, you handle it and say no more. And people say, I tried that. Well, then go find your priest. Go find your pastor that is going to bind it for you, because you have faith in that person and their ability for their faith to take action to bind whatever it is that's bothering you. I am really good at, and thank you for letting me talk about that. On my Swords of St. Michael website, www.swordsofstmichael, there's lots of binding prayers. There's lots of information. I may have a couple of videos up on Swords of St. Michael on YouTube about getting rid of an object yourself too.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to look, but maybe that's a good show to do an update on, because I've had that question a bit. What do I do if I've got this object that I'm worried about?
Mm-hmm.
Because not a lot of people know. And if something's bothering you to the point that you're obsessed that it's bothering you, that's a problem in itself.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, there's usually a reason, Charlotte. Yeah.
I love talking to investigators such as yourself, because with what I know and what you know, you can always teach me more. I mean, that's what I'm always open to.
And I can learn from you too. I love how professional you are. It's
Thank you.
really nice, because there's so many, and I'm not disparaging other investigators, but like you said, they're new, they got their little training booties and training pants on, and they don't realize they could be like really inviting something crazy back home with them,
Right.
or they're missing something that's right in their face. So they make a snap judgment, and then they're wondering why it doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I know people, like you say, there's people that ask for this stuff. Like, if you go on eBay any day of the week and Google haunted dolls
Oh,
or
yeah.
haunted objects, I mean, it's page after page after page after page of this stuff, and people are buying this stuff up because they see, they see TV and they think, oh, it's not going to bother me, it's not going to be a big deal, and they get these things home, and then all hell breaks loose.
Well, and it's worse than that. It's opening the door, even if that item that they bought on eBay isn't haunted. The fact, and this is what I tell about people, when they're like, well, you're a faithful Catholic, it's perfectly fine to want to speak in tongues, blah, 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 and then there's bibble babble. I want to do that. Well, I'm sorry. I equate it the same way of seeking a haunted object.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not something you already have and you're asked to deal with it, why invite hell to your doorstep?
Mm-hmm.
Because let's just say you get this cute little bunny, you're supposed to, and nothing against your adorable Yoda there, it looks like a little bunny, but you get this, haunted bunny because you're like, well, my grandma loved bunnies, and if it's haunted, maybe I can talk to my grandma, da, da, da. You ask for this thing, you bring it in your house. Let's say, this person just bought a 20-pack of bunnies off Amazon, smeared it with mud, and said, I'm selling you as haunted. That person that said, I'm selling you as haunted, might have just invited a pack of little minor demons into that bunny. May not have. You seeking that haunted object and wanting that haunted object to come in your house, that's like a vampire doesn't even have to walk into your house. You just lay down, suck my blood.
Right.
It's like, but they don't think. Oy, it's so sad. It's just so sad.
We did this house out in Rockland, and they had issues, and it turned out to be generational, part of it.
Oh, wow.
But the other part of it is the daughter had been watching the TV shows, and she thought it would be fun to invite the ghosts into the house. So as it turned out, of course, the property had some kind of attachment on it, and she invited this thing in, and it had so much strength. And this is what they didn't tell us, like during the initial interview.
Yeah.
Exactly what we were dealing with. They told us after the fact, after I pulled my team out.
Yeah.
The guy comes to me.
That's
He
always
says,
the way it is. You don't find out until you're like, I'm done.
yeah.
And then I was like, well.
He comes up to me and he says, "Oh, by the way, I was doing laundry in the laundry room, and something got the dryer door now, and ripped it off its hinges and threw it across the room." And I said, "You're telling me this now after I put my people at risk?"
Yeah, you did, without even knowing it.
Yeah, without even knowing it.
And you can't know it because why is it that people don't want to give you the whole story? That's why I spend time with people on the phone before I'll go out there.
Right.
Because I find that people have a tendency to either change or soften their story by the second time, the second part of the interview. And then if I'm really kind of curious, I give it a third time and say, you know, I'd like to bring this person into a three-way call so that they can give me some more direction because, you know, I may not be hearing everything.
Mm-hmm.
They'll either back right off, they'll change their story again.
Mm-hmm.
It just floors me. It's like, I'm going to find this out anyway. It's all going to come out when I show up. It's all going to come out because, you know, Charlotte, there is, you know, leave no one behind.
Right.
And leave no stone unturned.
Right.
I won't leave a stone unturned. So if you're going to sit on that stone, you're going to be moved. I'm going to move you somehow, some way, because you asked me for help. And that's my job to help you.
And I don't know if it's just because they're watching TV or why they think that they don't want to tell you everything that's going on. You know, like the house where the people, they got all kinds of stuff going on. They're adamant, "Oh no, we've never messed with tarot cards. We've never done any of this stuff." And my psychic goes through, and the second she gets there, she's led to the closet. Up at the top of the closet, there's a Ouija board.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yet they sat there adamantly and told us, no
invitations here.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on here.
That was a blessed discovery.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because who knows what was invited in off of that and how long it's been used.
And as they call it was a Sunday come to Jesus meeting. You know?
Well, oh yeah. And you know, speaking of, you know, surprises, what I've gotten a lot too is when Ken died, I had this wonderful conversation with this midnight. She was a second shift charge nurse. And she was a combat vet nurse in Iraq and Iran. And we were talking about some cases and some vets that we'd known that had some really, some of the most horrific experiences being over in the Middle East with everything from hauntings to oppressions. And I'm talking about demonic oppressions to like complete, they think it's like complete physical and a mental change that they weren't even who they were. Right. And it's because of what they were exposed to and what they saw. So I think, and I'm going to say this with a heart of love, when we have so much unrest in the world and there's a reason that Jericho had a wall around it. There's a reason that why, you know, cities build moats to protect the women and the children, the product of the land. And when we are not scrupulous in loving people and welcoming them with a reasonable attitude, you know, instead of just, you know, letting everything, our media, our land, our morals just go wherever they want to go, we have got a mishmash of confusion that is inviting a lot of demonic energy into it. What do I mean by demonic energy? I mean that we all have to hold fast right now to what we love and what we hold as true, because people are being attacked on, I mean, just everywhere, out of nowhere, for no reason whatsoever. Things are ramping up like crazy. So we got to hold those people we love close and the people we don't love even closer, because they may need our prayers and care from a distance. Keep them away from us, God.
Well, it's the energy level. Like you said earlier in the interview, there's just
Yeah,
this energy level and a lot of negativity out there. And
big
it's
time.
and for the weaker, I'm not saying the weaker people, but for the people that aren't really, the most
They're
healthy people,
open and they're
whatever, they're
sensitive. They're
open.
not able
Right,
to close themselves off,
right,
Charlotte. They're
right,
just
right, right,
not.
right.
They're like little
Absolutely.
tuning forks. And it's like,
Right.
stop.
Absolutely.
Poor things.
This hour went by. It is so fun to have you on and talk to you.
Thank you. I'm so glad. It's nice to touch base with you again. And hopefully, maybe the next time, hopefully, I'll have my book done and I'll have gotten off my lazy tookus and I'll get something else going.
Absolutely. Maybe we should talk about haunted objects one show. That would be cool.
That would be really
We
great.
should
Oh
have
my
to do a
gosh,
show
we can
on
talk about
objects.
haunted objects as long
Yeah,
as it is.
absolutely.
Oh, yes.
So
Thank
what's
you all
next?
for joining us
Absolutely.
tonight.
What's next for you?
What's next for me? I am, like I said, I'm going back to the drawing board. I'm downloading some files since getting remarried and organizing. Ken and I were working on me doing more additions to the Catholic Demonologist,
Uh-huh.
and I did a lot of the Christian Demonologist, and I am debating, I'm praying with a priest that I know to open up to actually training some people that are referred to me by their pastors as demonologists. So that's
Very cool.
next that I'm prayerfully discerning, as well as tidying up some books and diving back into where there's a need, Charlotte. There's a need for somebody, just to be calm and compassionate and say, let's take this and this and this one step at a time
Uh-huh.
instead of jumping all the way to the end zone. So
Absolutely.
one day at a time, Charlotte.
And where can people find you?
You can find me here on Facebook at Farah Rose Perry. You can find me at Swords of St. Michael .org online. You can email me there, help at Swords of St. Michael. You can also find me on YouTube, Swords of St. Michael. There's loads of videos, loads of movies that I take apart. Can demons really do that? Information on the demonic influence that we're seeing in our society of narcissism and demonic energy, because narcissists are basically copying the demonic energy to be just like them. And these demons are getting people to act just like them. And so we see it in Machiavellianism and narcissism and psychopathy. But so you can find me there. YouTube, swordsofstmichael.org, lots of prayers, or ping me on Facebook.
Sounds good, Farah. Thank you so much again for coming on. And we'll get
Thanks,
you on
Charlotte.
again.
God bless you. Have a
It's
great
always
night.
fun.
Thank you all.
You too. Have a great night.
All right. Bye-bye.
Fantastic. It's always fun to talk with her. Learn so much. Just total education from her. Okay, tomorrow, as I was saying earlier, Emily and Sierra are going to be with us, and they have an interesting story to tell about literally almost living with big feet. Big feet, say Bigfoot, Bigfoot, big feet. Big feet sounds funny. But yeah, and their slogan is Bigfoot in my backyard. And they have some really incredible stories to tell about Bigfoot and contact that they have made with the creature. So that'll be tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. We may even have some audio to go with that. Not positive yet, but we may have some audio. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. I'll give you Farah's contact information and show you some of the books that they have out, because they've got quite a few books out. And they even have a self-help book out that you can purchase, in case you might have things going on in your home or office. Okay, so I'll get you that information, how to contact her, and all that good stuff. But I want to thank you all. Again, please sign up if you haven't already and you want to, for Coffee with the Ghosthunter, and that'll be next Thursday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Check us out at the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team Meetup. And again, that's scrolling down at the bottom, just to help us out with fixing up our equipment and stuff so we can get rolling to go out and do what we do best, which is help people in need. All right, if you like the show, share it with 5 people. If you hated the show, share it with 5 of your enemies. We are equal opportunity here at California Haunts Radio. We're just trying to get the word out about our little old show, and hopefully you help us out a little bit with that. Okay, here's Farah's contact information, and then I'm going to sign off, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at 6:30, so here we go. She's got 2 sites, actually. swordsofstmichael.org, and that's all lowercase, and prayersbythebead.com. And we have several books. We've got Haunted Investigations and Haunting Self-Help Guidebook. We've also got the Catholic Demonologist Handbook and Study Guide, and another Catholic Demonologist Handbook, probably an update to, update versus update. Demonology Handbook, another study guide, and another Catholic Demonologist Handbook. And you can get those at Amazon and from the website. Okay, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great evening. Bye.